Hello, this is Blue Nuts here, and today I will be teaching you how to render a rectangle using the LWJGL library for Java. The first thing you want to do is to go into sort, click source class, and we are going to make a model class. I'm going to put this into models just for later convenience, because once you get to later stages it will be difficult to find stuff. And I'm going to create two ints, one called VAO ID and one called vertex count. And we're going to use my favourite thing of getting source and generate constructors with fields. This is a very useful thing to know, as it, well, it's kind of self-explanatory, it helps save time. We also want to get some setters, and that is all we need, and that is done for that. Next, we are going to want to make another class called model loader. This will actually load the model and load it to a VAO. I'll explain what a VAO is at the end of the video, because I don't think everyone wants to watch it just to learn. So the first thing we want to do is make a public model quick load to VAO float, and we want to put in this a float array of positions, and we just want to import that. Easily done. And then we're also going to make a private int create. I'm just going to return 0. I'm putting the returns in just because I really don't like the errors it gives me when I don't. Private void store data in list, and in this we're going to give it an int and just put number and a float array of data, and we also want to make a private void unbind. Oh yeah, and a private float buffer. This will not make sense at the minute, but it will make sense later. And in that we want to put a float array of data again, and we just want to import that and return null. There. So the first thing we want to do is go into the into here. We want to create an int of a VAO ID, and that's going to equal create. I'll just work chronologically first, just this thing, and I'll explain it all at the end of the video. Store data. Oh, another trick is control and space, which shows you that useful thing, and we want to put it in 0, and we want positions. and we want to unbind it at the end. Oh. In create, we want to make an int of a VAO ID, and we're going to make that equal to gl30.gl. Actually, another trick is just to put the thing, yeah. It just saves a bit of time. You don't need to do it. And put and we also want to use gl30 to bind vertex arrays, and we want to put that into VAO ID. So there we go, and we want to return VAO ID. And so that means that, oh, I completely forgot here to put new model. We want to put in VAO ID and positions dot length over 3, and we're dividing it by 3 because we're going to have it in 3 dimensions, or 3D. Wow, nerd. The next thing is just actually store the data into. So we want, and this is where we're going to have VBOs. I'll explain what VBOs are at the end of the video. And first we want to actually generate the buffers, and we're going to use gl15.gl bind buffer, and we want to bind it into gl15 dot that and VBO ID. Next we want to float buffer, and we want to get the buffer now equals store, and it's a nice little trick, and data's already done there. Next we want to put gl15 dot gl buffer data, just that one, and the target we're going to use is gl15 dot array buffer data, and then we want to use gl15 dot static draw. This means it only draws it once. Oh, gl buffer data, what have I done here? Gl buffer data, array buffer data, static draw. I'm sure I got that right. Oh, that's it. So dumb of me. We just made it and I forgot to use it. 20. And now we're going to use 20. We're using 20 because it has a vertex attributes pointer, which DL15 doesn't have. I've seen people get confused us here before, so just wanted to clear that up in my video. Here we go. So we want the index to be number, size 3, normalize gl11 dot. So many GLs. Stride false, and we want 0 and 0. Next we want, and finally we want to put gl15 bind buffers, and we want to bind gl15 dot array buffer and 0. Perfect. So now that here And yes, so now we can do unbind, which is very simple. So we just want to gl bind vertex array, and we're just going to put 0, and this just unbinds it. Simple. And now we want to actually make the float buffer. So first we need to make a float buffer. Here, buffer equals buffer utils dot create buffer, and we want to put data dot length. Next we want to put buffer dot put, and we want to put data, and then we want to put buffer dot flip, and we just want to put buffer here. And what else? Oh yeah, we want to make a private list, and we want to put integer. We can't put int, it just needs integer. And we're going to need two things here. We're going to need a VAO list. Actually, just put VAOs and VBOs, and I'm just going to put equals new array list of integer, yeah, and I'm just going to cheat and copy this over, and it's going to come from there. We're going to use the util. Make sure it's util, not aught. So now we've got those. What this does is every time we make a VAO, we want to register it so we can clean it up at the end. We want VAOs.add and VAO ID. And we want to do the same for the VBOs. And VBO ID, and done. Next, I think at the start of this we want to make a public void clean. What this does, it cleans the class after using it. It just clears up all the VAOs and VBOs at the end. So we just want to put a nice little for loop here. We want for int VAO in, and the colon here means inside of. So what that means is for the amount of VAOs, for the integers inside of VAOs, do this. And we just want to put VAO dot VAOs dot what was it? No, it was GL30 dot GL delete delete vertex array. So that's down here, and we just want to put VAO, and we just go here and we just, the easiest thing here is just to put VBOs in VBO, and instead of that, you know, I don't know why I copied this. It was useless because we need to use a different thing anyway because it's a buffer. There, and that's the loader class done. One more thing, we need to add in a render class. Nice little render class. So the first thing we only want 2 voids in here. It's fairly simple. I just deleted the last thing. I do not know why or how that happened. I think I clicked something. two voids, one called prepare and the other called render, and we are going to put our model in here. We just import that, and gl11.gl clear. What this basically does is it clears the thing, the screen before it, and it also adds a colour there. So pretty much this makes red, but in my opinion, blue is a better colour than red, and I like blue. And then we also want to put gl11.gl clear, and just put gl underscore color, color buffer bits, which just also one thing I just don't like is their spelling of colour. I'm British, damn it. Okay, now we want to bind the vertex arrays, and we're going to get model.get VAOID, because back here we make a new thing with the VAO, so that's always useful. Next we want to gl20.gl enable vertex thing, and we just put 0 here, and gl11.gl draw arrays, and we're just going to put gl11.gl. So much GL. And the first one is 0, and the next one is model.get. Anyway, so now we want to gl20.gl disable vertex array, and we're just going to put A. This just stops the process here. So what happens is this starts the process, this is the process, and that stops the process. 30.gl bind, and we just want to bind it, obviously. Bind vertex array, and we're just going to put 0. Perfecto, that should be everything. So now in the main class, we need to order in here. So first we want to make the model loader, and loader and equals new model loader, simple as pie. Render, I do not know what the point of that was. I just love using control and S, not S, control, that's saving. I do like control S, control space. And we also want to make a float array, which is going to be the positions. Vertices, and because we're doing it in triangles, it needs to be vertices. Always remember to put a semicolon on the end, as it is still a thing. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just copy it in, oh god. Yeah. So now what we need to do, we should loader, at the end we want to clean it up, loader.clean, and here we want to render.prepare hair, and then render dot render model. I forgot to make the model. That's down. Let's just make that down here equals, and we're going to put loader dot what's it called? Yeah, loader thing, and we're just going to put that vertices in it. Vertices. There we go. When we just quickly that, and when we click start, ta-da! We've got our own little square, and I'll be explaining this in a minute. So, a VBA, a VAO, is an object that it contains these things called VBOs. Excuse my handwriting. So pretty much is a VAO is a vertex array object. So pretty much it's just something that holds VBOs into pretty much an array, and I'm pretty sure it can handle up to 16 things, which is 15 down. Don't hold me to that though. But VBO is a feature that allows you to store data inside of them. So one VBO could hold your positions, the vertex positions, which is always handy. It can also hold the texture coordinates. It could hold the normal vectors, and it can hold colours. Pretty colours. And before any of you say it, I am British. That is the way we spell it. Anyway, so for example, it could go, positions can go in 0, textures can go in 1, normals can go in 2, and colours can go in 5, and yeah. So now to explain the actual code, I've just put a 5 in there for some reason. So I would explain this, but that's mostly made of, that is literally made of everything else in this. So I'm going to start with the create thing. So pretty much the create, this makes a new, this generates a new vertex array, and it puts into the VAO ID. The VAO ID is now bound using this, and it's returned by that. So that's how that's made. So the store data in lists, it takes in a number, which is the number position in the thing you want it to be, and data, explanatory. So for example, position is the VBO data pretty much, so it's either positions, texture coordinates, that stuff. So this just generates an empty buffer, as that generates an empty vertex array. And yeah, so this creates a float buffer, which I will this makes, so here, might as well explain this. This creates a float buffer using, and this is how the size of the buffer. So the buffer will also, so the buffer would have this put into it, and that just yeah, and it returns the buffer. That is very important though, it will crash if you don't. I don't know how long it took me to figure that out, when I first did it. So this here, it puts the buffer data, so the array buffer, and you need to put the buffer here. And this just means that you only want to use it once. It's very useful. This, the vertex attributes, it puts a number in the index. 3 is a size, so 3 dimensions. We want it to be a float. We do not want it to be normalized and just 0, 0. And the bind buffer just binds the buffer. Unbind, I explained this already. So render, pretty much, to prepare this bit, all it does is clears the old screen. So if you don't do that, pretty much, we also need to put more things when we're using multiple models, because otherwise, or moving the model, because otherwise it will just have, I'll explain it when, pretty much it will just stay there, the image will just stay there while the thing's moving, so it just leaves the trail that won't go. Render here renders the thing, as I explained before. It binds the vertex array first, then it enables it in 0, then it does triangles. Triangles are a programmer's best friend. They can make any shape possible. Squares, circles are the exception, because nothing can make circles, they're just so odd. They're an anomaly. Anyway, and then it disables, and then it debinds. And that just, as in here, unbinds. Oh, this has been Blue Night Sea. Thank you for listening to my ramblings. Goodbye.